I don't think I ever get used to the recording in progress voice. Morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're on time. Nice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. See some familiar names there. Thank you all for joining.
Are we going to give it like a minute or two to allow people to come in, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How about we just stir up a bit of chat and discussion beforehand just to keep us all entertained. Where are you tuning in from and what's the weather like today? So I am tuning in from kind of cloudy London. Let's do that. Cloudy London. Cloudy Devon, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm cloudy Brighton. God, there's no hope for any of us if I'm cloudy down here.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. It's exactly like that, isn't it? It's just like the same all over the place. It's been so nice the last few days, though, come to think of it. The sun's been out, and every opportunity we get, we jump outside.
It's the inevitable at least a couple of days of stormy weather after a good spout of sunshine.
100%. All right. Give it another minute. We've still got a few people, I think, to come in, and then we'll jump in and join. Just before we do, all of the questions, if we could maybe put them in the Q&A box, because myself, Pete, David, everyone who's on the call today will be going through those questions, and either we can answer them in live time come the end throughout, or we can type up a response as others are talking as well, so we can hopefully get those nailed. Instead of having 20 or 30 questions at the end, we can do them as we go. But please, if you've got any, put them in the Q&A.
If we do sort of miss any as well, it means that they're actually logged if they're in the Q&A, and we can make sure we get back to people.
Perfect. Thanks, Simon. That's exactly right. Type them in the Q&A box. Spot on. All right, let's begin. I'm already sharing my screen. Chances are you can see that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pixie and Practice Ignition workshop webinar. We're going to talk about streamlining your new client's onboarding workflow and delivering an exceptional client experience. You might see there are three faces there. We've got myself and Pete, who will introduce ourselves in a second. And we've also got David, who we'll introduce in a moment too. So my name's Matt. I'm an account manager at Pixie. And ironically, I used to be an account manager at Practice Ignition. So I used to work alongside Pete, which was really nice. I've been Pixie, about 7 or 8 months now. The time's absolutely flown. And I was with PI for about 2 years, and Xero before that for 2 years, and then an accountant before that for about 5 years. But that was all in Australia, and now I've been in the UK for about 2 years as well, so loving it while I've been here. Probably not the best time to come across. We got about 3 or 4 months before everything slowed down, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it's all going to open up again and we can get back to our lives. Over to you, Pete.
Thanks, Matt, and amazing to be on another webinar with you. Me and Matt used to do a few when we were both at Practice Ignition. Obviously, sorry to see you go, but fantastic to sort of be working with you alongside Pixie. So I am Peter Marlow. I'm a territory manager at Practice Ignition. It's really my role to help anyone who's looking at streamlining or automating that proposal piece, the letter of engagement piece in their practice, and sort of guide them through it. And obviously, if they're specifically looking at Practice Ignition, then that always helps. But yeah, great to sort of be on today's session, and very much looking forward to taking you through my side of things.
Perfect. And if you haven't already, please feel free to connect with us on Twitter or LinkedIn. If you've got any questions following this webinar, we will send a recording of it along with the responses to the polls we're going to ask towards the end. So that's how you can communicate with us if you need to ask questions following this. I'd like to introduce David. David, take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm David. Yeah, so I run Munro & Partners, an accounting practice down in Surrey. And yeah, we're a completely virtual practice. So I'm going to tell you how much I love both Practice Ignition and Pixie. And I'll tell you a few reasons why. So yeah, that's me. I'll speak to you soon.
Perfect. Thanks for being on the call with us, David. So we're going to ask David a few scenario questions about how he got to where he did and a couple of really key points about both products. And then myself and Pete will go through a demo of both Pixie and Practice Ignition and how they can connect with Zapier as well. So if you're interested in looking at that, or want to know a bit more about it, we can provide resources. We're going to actually show a live example, and then we can take it away towards the end as well. All right, so today's agenda, I'm going to ask David a few questions about any challenges that he's faced and how he's overcome them using both of our products. We're going to go through the demo. We're going to have a summary at the end covering all the key points and provide some resources as well. And of course, the Q&A is open throughout the entire session, so don't be afraid to ask questions as we go. We will slow down to kind of touch on key points. So if anything comes up in the Q&A box whilst we're there, we can probably answer it in live time. Beautiful. Pete, did you want to take these questions away and ask David?
Absolutely. If we could go to the next slide. So yes, so David, obviously you went through a process to become a fully digital practice, and in doing that you would have been reviewing your older processes. So first of all, I'd love to sort of ask you what the challenges were. What did you face with your sort of older processes before you started using Pixie and Practice Ignition?
So I think the main challenges were the amount of time it took to create a proposal. So we'd have like our Excel kind of calculation sheet, which would pull through from one tab to the other, and then we'd take that, we'd put that into Word, and then that would be PDF'd, or that would be even printed out and sent to people. We'd be printing out engagement letters, sending them to signing physically. It was a really long process, and quite, you know, with every bit of that, with every stage of that, there was kind of potential for delay and problems. So it was just a real pain. You had to kind of keep everything in your head in terms of where you're at. The next step was kind of where you're getting those proposals signed and waiting for people to sign them, scan them, send them back, or not. And then the whole onboarding process was fairly kind of down to the partner who was involved in terms of making sure everything was done. However, yeah, and you know, inevitably things get missed, and then you get down the line, you're doing a job and you realize we don't have this piece of information, we need to get it. It's just not the way you should work.
No, and I think you gave a brilliant line when we were chatting before this, that you found with things being missed, you were sort of almost letting down a client before you even sort of get to working on their accounts. And
before you even start, yeah, exactly, yeah,
and it's yeah, not the greatest sort of process to be having, where things can sort of slide and slip right from the first word go. So just moving on to the next question, what was the solution? So if you could just you know, expand upon you know, what the challenge or what the solution was. Seems to be a bit of a typo in there that I left. Answer won't be on the slide, so David will definitely have to deliver this one.
I'm gonna have to do it.
So just to go
no
through
pressure.
What this,
Cool.
what the solution was.
Yeah, so we implemented Practice Ignition and Pixie pretty much simultaneously, I think, and through the Zapier connection, connecting up the two products. So Practice Ignition was in itself a fantastic change in terms of just being able to produce a proposal in a very short space of time after the initial kind of setup of everything in the job, the different libraries of services and all the rest. The ability to send it to someone with a click of a button, and for them to, you know, clients were very impressed when they see a proposal coming through in the way it does from Practice Ignition. So then the ability later, we kind of hooked up into the ability to collect payments through Practice Ignition as well, which was fantastic. And then through Zapier, just pushes all these jobs in. So first thing is, as someone clicks the button on a proposal, then it creates first the client into Pixie. In fact, it's all at the same time. Creates a client in Pixie, creates the jobs that you've sent it to create, and it already assigned it to the people that need to do those jobs. And so you've initially, we've got like an onboarding job that goes directly to the right person, and they just immediately get onto it, and they're collecting all the stuff, and in Pixie, all the different sub-tasks are in there, and so you just don't miss anything. And you're getting it done very, very fast. So, and it's just, yeah, so it gives you this incredible seamless workflow for onboarding so fast as well.
What were the sort of, we got a couple of questions in the chat, but what was the sort of turnaround time that previously for maybe signing someone up, then once they've signed, sort of getting everything onto systems so that your team can crack on with the work?
Yeah, I mean, with the old system, it could take a few days, because someone's like just, it's that hassle of printing off something and then signing it and scanning it and sending it back. It's all time, and there's it's not just the time of doing that, it's the kind of headspace of someone going like, I'm not bothered to do that right now. And so the more you take out that kind of it's a mind barrier. You're just making it easy for people, and then they can do it. And it really does work.
Excellent. And on to the final question, which is, what is the result? So, after putting in place Practice Ignition and Pixie and sort of streamlining that onboarding, what is the result now? How is your process after doing all that?
Well, no, it's amazing. So, I meet with a prospect, kind of assess whether they're going to be a good client, whether we're going to be a good fit for them. And if we are, I can go straight into Practice Ignition, put a proposal together, and have it to them. If I haven't got meetings booked up all through the day, then I can get it to them even within 20 minutes. It's amazing, and people are quite kind of wowed by that, I think. And then people are fairly quick to then sign up. Generally, you might find they sign up within the day. They might sign up if it's over a weekend. They might sign up on the Monday or the Tuesday. But it just does work. And the great thing then is the whole process of getting the onboarding done. So as soon as someone's signed, you've got all those tasks, and my team know what to do, and they just get on with it. We're getting stuff prepared. We're getting all the authorizations for HMRC, the codes for Companies House. Everything's coming in early so that you're not getting to the point where you have to do the payroll and you don't have the right authorizations, and you're suddenly starting to be late on things already. So obviously it's all dependent on clients and previous accountants giving you information, but we are not delaying this process at all.
Excellent. And I think we should maybe just address a couple of questions, because one of them's a nice little segue onto our next slide, and certainly something that we'll be going through during the live demo. But VJ has mentioned, or just ask you, David, sort of what is your app stack? So maybe just expand a little bit outside of Practice Ignition and Pixie, maybe whether you use Xero, QuickBooks, etc.
Yeah, no, we are pretty much a Xero only practice. We've got a couple of clients who want to stick with QuickBooks and Sage Online, and if I could, I'd get them off, but I haven't been able to. So yeah, QuickBooks is not my favorite. So I go with Xero, and we are working with Xero Tax and Xero Personal Tax at the moment. There's quite a few other software bits and pieces that we use, like for scheduling, I use Calendly, which works really well. And I use Google Apps Suite as well. Yeah.
Excellent. And Simon's asked one, it's probably for myself or Matt. And, did you have to set up the Zapier integration yourself? or has someone do it for you? So just to sort of answer that a little bit, Simon. So if it wasn't a Zapier integration between, say, ourselves, Practice Ignition and Pixie, then you would have to sort of create a template to basically trigger certain actions from one platform to the next and go through and basically scope out what it is you want to happen. However, we have already created this template, and either Practice Ignition or Pixie, whichever account manager you happen to be chatting to at the time of onboarding, can supply you that template. So it's just a really easy process of working through. I think there's about 5 or 6 steps to just sort of sense check and connect the two together. And once that's done, it means that actually you can start creating proposals in Practice Ignition, getting them signed, and then that uses the template to then trigger that automation into Pixie. And I will show you the template. I won't go into massive detail there, but it's essentially connecting the services in Practice Ignition with all the jobs and tasks in Pixie, so that when that's signed, it triggers the correct ones in Pixie to be set up against that client. So yeah, moving for, oh yeah, this slide is a real good visual just to sort of represent what the workflow is. So obviously you're creating a proposal within Practice Ignition, sending that out like David said, within minutes of that meeting, and the client then signs that. It triggers that workflow through Zapier into Pixie, but you can also connect Xero or QuickBooks for the billing and utilize the Practice Ignition payment platform to actually collect direct debits as well. And then, you know, that auto reconciles once the payment hits your bank account. So if you would like to go on to the next slide.
That's a really good point. And I just wanted to jump in there. We're going to provide everybody with the resources to connect up your accounts at the end as well. Pete will explain. I'll also show you what the end result will be through the demo, but we'll also be able to provide you those zaps. So don't worry about that. You'll absolutely get those resources.
Absolutely. So at this point,
I might stop sharing. Is that all right?
Yeah.
You take over, Pete?
I'm going to jump in.
Okay.
Share my screen. So as we've already alluded to, and David has had first-hand experience of, Practice Ignition is all about basically eradicating that sinking feeling of coming off a client meeting or phone call thinking, oh my God, I've got to put a proposal together. I've got to put a letter of engagement together, and it takes me, you know, an hour or so, and I really don't want to do it. You know, it takes an hour or so, or even longer. And then once it's over to the client, you know, they sort of open up a document and think, you know what, I need a coffee and I'm going to look at this later. Or in David's case, if it was completely manual, actually having to wait for it to turn up in the post before then reading through everything, signing, either scanning that in or getting that back via the post as well. So as I've said, the ability to create proposals in minutes after that meeting, sending it over on an email, and the client clicks on a link within that email, and the first thing they realize is how much this doesn't look like an intimidating sort of Word document or massive document that they've got to read through. Actually, they're greeted with a step-by-step process, of which the first page is the intro, you know, setting the scene for them, setting up what they need to do. You can either do this with a typed message, but now you can actually embed video into that process. And you might be thinking, Pete, what are you talking about? We're accountants. We don't record videos. And yes, I get it. Like, none of us really like sort of recording videos and watching us ourselves back. But I cannot stress enough how much in this day and age video is so powerful. Like, we're very much hardwired to click play and listen to someone talking back at us, telling us what we need to do or guiding us through. And we're not really hardwired anymore to read pages upon pages of text. It's something that we pretty much want to put off. So to be able to put yourself in front of the client right from the first page. And thanks for checking out what I've just put together. That's enough of that. But to be able to put yourself in front of them, not only is going to add value in that first engagement, that first page, but also maybe, you know, in other communications, in your general emails, it's going to add so much more to that relationship that you have with your clients. So after the intro page, you've then got the brochure. And this is something that we actually put together for you. And it's to back up all those conversations that you're having with your clients in those meetings, those calls, those emails. It's where they can read into your story and how you service the clients. And maybe it's a little bit on, you know, your services. Oh, I didn't realize you did management accounts. Can you add that into my proposal? Of course I can. You add it in within minutes, your end. And because it's a live digital engagement, all they need to do is actually click refresh their end. So no toing and froing on emails, version 5.2 and them signing the wrong one. It's instant straight away. So then on to the next step, which is one of our newest features. And it is a feature of our professional and scale package, but it's the ability to present your clients with options. And I do apologize on the color setup on here. This is actually someone else's account that I borrowed. I would have made it a bit darker and not the pastel greens. But this is the ability to show your clients with options. And it's all about the idea. Actually, it's more than just an idea of how we buy or make buying decisions. And whether it's consciously, subconsciously, it's done with choice. And if you're only providing your clients with one cost for things, then they're more likely to go and get a comparison cost elsewhere, and then you're at risk of them going with someone else. Whereas if you keep the focus with choice on your services, then the client has everything they need to make that decision and sign up. Of course, this is an option. You could utilize it however you wish. And if you were just to select the one price, it would go straight on to the service summary. So the service summary is very much breaking down the services and the scope of those services away from the letter of engagement. So the client can really understand what it is they're signing up for. They get to the bottom of the page and they're thinking, yeah, this is brilliant. This is exactly what I need for my business. How much is it going to cost? And when am I going to be billed? So that leads on to the billing schedule. And this is where you can basically point out, you know, how much everything's going to cost. You can obviously go down the monthly route, the monthly cost route, the subscription cost, but with the Practice Ignition platform, you can actually bill your clients whenever you want. We understand, yes, the market's going on a monthly subscription sort of billing, but actually it's accounting. You might have upfront costs, you might have services to be billed at the end of the year, on completion, every week, every 6 months, however it is, you can actually set that up within Practice Ignition. And I've got a hopefully happy accident, because you can actually use Practice Ignition payments. And this is where you can add, your clients have the ability, and let me just share another example here. Here's one I made earlier with slightly better colors. Here we go. Apologies, bear with me.
This could be like a prime example of you chatting with the client, making an adjustment, then putting it back to the client for them to sign then and there. Because you might be on a call with them like we are now, or you might be in the room with them, and then you can actually update your proposal in live time, whether it's adding a service, adjusting something, maybe a price, maybe adding something else. maybe just the way the wording is, and then you can enhance that by a step or two, like what Pete's doing now. And as soon as you come back in, refresh the page, it's ready for the client to accept, and you can either do it, like we said, with them then and there in the room, or it's with them online.
Thank you very much, Foxy, for the save. I should just need a couple more seconds, sorry. But here we go. There we go. Thank you there, Foxy. Basically, I'd forgotten to add in the pricing option, which is sacrilege from my side. So you should be able to see a slightly better coloured proposal. I'm going to select an option, work through, past the billing schedule, which you can see I have on this one got upfront costs, monthly costs, on completion costs, quarterly and yearly. And then the next step is actually the payments option. So we've got our own payment platform, which you can collect direct debits on, or even give the option for card payments. But because it's embedded within our product, it means you can embed it within that proposal. And you can also make it a required step within the proposal before they sign the agreement. And what this means is, it means that you can take more control over how your clients pay you, especially if it's those you've got a high number of smaller clients that you're just doing the year-end services for, and you don't want them becoming a debtors. It's a really good way to say, here you go, this is how you pay us, enter your payment details. And then
just a quick one there, Pete. It looks like those details are already there. Were they from last year?
They were indeed. So I'd already captured these payment details for this client. And you can actually have multiple payment details for clients as well, which is fantastic if you've got director payments that are for their services that are completely separate from the limited companies. You can have those loaded up against the client and, you know, select which payment they want to use for whatever agreement. Moving on to the letter of engagement, you've then got this for the client to read through, understand, read all the specific service terms, and we completely automate this process. So when you think about traditional templates for letters of engagements, probably in Word, you've got those little yellow sections you have to work through, fill out everything. It takes you absolutely ages, and there's always that risk that you may have made a mistake. Within Practice Ignition, we completely automate that. And we actually make it bespoke by splitting out the service terms against the service options, so that when you're building your proposal, the letter of engagement is building itself in the background, depending on the services that you're selecting for the client. So that's the proposal. When you click on when the client is ready, they tick the little box, they sign the agreement, and they accept the proposal. They're then presented with a post-acceptance screen where, again, you can have video. Thank you very much for signing up. Please click on the links below, and we can build this post-acceptance screen out however you wish. And you might have links to your diary, Calendly, as David has. You may have links to digital forms to capture AML information. But actually, this is the point where the customer is now becoming live within Practice Ignition, and all of that workflow that's set up with your Zapier template to sort of push into Pixie does its thing. It's being set up in Xero or QuickBooks for the billing, the payments or billing schedules being set up, but the client's being set up in Pixie with all the jobs and tasks that need to be assigned to those certain services within Pixie. So at this point, I think I'm going to hand over. I will just quickly show you what the template looks like, actually, before I hand over to Matt. So this is something that we will supply you. We can send it to whoever needs it after this session, but it's essentially a pre-built template that you can just work through and connect both your Practice Ignition account to the Zapier template, and also the Pixie account into the template as well. Work through the different steps, and once you're at the bottom, you're good to go. So I won't go through all the details here, but this is essentially what we can provide you, and it takes minutes to sort of set up. And that is where I'm going to hand over to Matt, if he's ready. and for Matt to take you through what appears in Pixie.
Perfect. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I was just answering a question or two in the background. Some really good questions and a really good presentation there about how Practice Ignition is so quick and time efficient, especially around the payments side of things. I don't know about everybody else on the call, but if I ever get to a point where I'm trying to buy something online and it always says, what's your card information? And I don't have my card handy, or I don't have a saved pre-input information in there that I already maybe bought something else with, that's where I'll step away. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's so annoying. Whereas in Practice Ignition, if you've already got that card saved, you only have to do it once, then the client can come back in the next time they do it, just choose the right card and away they go. So it kind of negates the whole last hurdle of actually having to put your information in before you can continue.
Yeah, and great live example as well, because actually this isn't brand new to everyone. You know, this is the sequence that people go through for everything else that they sign up in their day-to-day lives, and it's that penultimate step before signing the terms and conditions. So they're already pretty hardwired to put their payment details in, and that's why it's so good to have that in the proposal to really start capturing those client details and taking control of your debtor book a little bit more.
Nice. All right, I'm going to take over the screen.
I'll hand over to you. Bear with me a second. There you go.
Thanks, mate. Can you just confirm you can see where it says it's got that two handsome faces there? Yep. Perfect. All right, now I'm into my Pixie account. Confirming you can see that, Pete?
I can indeed.
Excellent. All right, thanks, mate. And good example you put in there, because I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but Pete had bookkeeping, payroll. I think you had VAT or annual accounts, something like that. So you had quite a lot of services that came through off the back of that proposal. Now I'm expecting to see those services here in my Pixie account. So what I'm looking at now is my work list today. So as you can see here, I've got something in there. I wanted to nail the Practice Ignition Pixie webinar. Perfect. So I'm just going to complete that. So that's being done. So what I did was just put an external task in. Maybe it's a checklist item. It doesn't have to be client related work. It can actually be something, maybe if you're old school like me and you write stuff down on a piece of paper, you can put it all into Pixie as you go. But I want to see, where are my pieces of work? Will they appear? Maybe I'm going to filter for work that's due, let's say, in the future. And there they are. There are the 4 services that Pete just created from that engagement. So I've got bookkeeping, new client onboarding, payroll, and yearly accounts and tax return. Now they're allocated to me. They could have been allocated to the person who was assigned to the client. So you might have a client manager who then differentiates or divvies up the work. Or within the templates that we've created for bookkeeping, payroll, new client onboarding, and annual accounts, you can maybe have someone specific doing those work. So maybe David does all the new client onboarding, Pete does all the bookkeeping, I do all the payroll, for example. Let's just jump in and have a look at, say, the bookkeeping. What does it look like? And how do we build out the structure of Pixie to keep us on track of all the work we're going to do and making workflow easy for the team? So on the left-hand side, I've got 3 things I have to do each and every time I maybe do a weekly or monthly bookkeeping job. The first of which is informing the client that the task has started and how to obtain their client records. So maybe I'm going to say, send them an email. And again, it's pre-drafted. So here we're looking at the pre-drafted email. This is going to Pete. It says, Dear Peter. I might even maybe make it a little less formal, whatever I need to do. Because it's pre-prepared, I can always adjust it before I send it off. I'm writing to inform you that we've started it's pulling in the task name. So your bookkeeping, it's pulling in the due date, again, which was set by Pixie. So we've got some placeholders in there to automate the client name, the type of work, the due date, and this secure link here, which is, again, pre-prepared from a template. If you wanted to add a secure link to get you the documents from your client, you can just click this request files button down here, and that will produce you a unique link for each and every client. Again, for safety and security, you can only send this email to the person or the persons, the contacts associated to the client record. So Pete and I are in a partnership. We have Your Next Client Limited, or that's our business. We're business partners. We're the only 2 people that can actually receive this email, because I'm contact number 2, Pete's contact number 1, and it's going to go to those people. I might just send it to myself for now. And you might see these additional names down the bottom here. These are all our staff members in Pixie. So again, it's only going to the people who we have got as a contact on that record. So if this email is intercepted by a scammer or it gets forwarded on by Matt to someone else who isn't this client, they can't do anything with it, which is really helpful. So I might send that off to myself, even though it says, hi, Pete, I might send it to him, but I don't want to spam him. So what I'm going to show you is what this looks like from the client's perspective. If I refresh my emails, here it is here. Now, what I can do to make it look even more professional is add in my email signature into my Pixie account, and your email signature will append at the end of an email, for example, like this. So it's got my email signature coming through every time I send something from Pixie, and it looks and feels exactly like your Microsoft 365 or your Gmail would normally feel. And again, it's nothing weird. It doesn't have any like extended hyperlinks or anything that's out of the normal. It's going to be your exact email, and it's going to look and feel like you normally would send an email. And here it is. So the client can then click into the link. It's going to have your business name. And if you want to attach a logo, you absolutely can. I'll show you where to put that in. So it has that nice touch and feel and professionalism when you send it to your client, a bit like Practice Ignition. So you're putting your business stamp on the information, and the client knows exactly what they're doing and what they're getting to you. Let's just say I'm going to do these two documents. I'm pretending I'm a client. I'm uploading the integral things that we need to complete my bookkeeping. And I'm going to click add note, maybe, for example. So I might say, hi, Pete, are these the correct documents? Now that that client has delivered those documents to us, I would have received one of two things. I can choose to accept an email from Pixie saying, hey, your client Pete's just uploaded you the records you needed, so maybe you can complete the job, which is nice. Or if I'm not a fan of receiving emails or updates from Pixie, all I have to do is click this little bell icon in the top right-hand side of my account. I personally like to check that maybe every hour or so, and it will tell me anything that's happened. If work's become overdue, if someone's reassigned work to me to review, if a client's uploaded documents for me. But now if I have a look in the Files tab of this particular job, there are the two records that the client sent me. I can also change the name. So maybe this isn't right. This might be like bank statement 1, save that. And this one here might be bank statement 2. So I can override the naming convention the client sent us. And these two documents can be downloaded and viewed from within Pixie, and they'll always be attached to the client record. So if you're doing multiple jobs for this client, just click into the client record and you'll have a history of every email you've ever received from them and every file that you've ever received from them as well. Again, the emails are nicely nested here, and they're associated to the right client because it's picking up the contact email that came through from Matt. And as we can see, it's aligned itself to the right client. So again, you can find the history of discussion. So if David's away and I need to jump in and complete the work, I can absolutely do that because I know that this client's given us what we need. And again, responding out of Pixie is exactly like responding out of your regular email account. All right, now we're on to the core of the work, and I've built out some interesting things that I like my team members to have on hand. The first of which is if you're into videos, you can actually do that here in Pixie as well. So maybe we've got to raise invoices, we've got to reconcile bank accounts, and we've got to respond to the client's queries. If you get stuck, I've put a little video in here for my team, so I don't have to micromanage them or sit over them each and every time they do a job. They know exactly what they have to do. They can watch this video, and this, ironically, is the video that connects the Zapier integration to Pixie and Practice Ignition. I've also got, if you need to go further, you can check out our help center, and I've embedded a link there for my team. If they get stuck, maybe send them to Waltz Kluwer's or send them to HMRC website or whatever they need to find that data or that maybe tax information that they have to complete this particular piece of work. I then work my way through this job. It's not a complex one, but we can make it really complex. And I'll give you an example of another one. So let's say yearly accounts and tax return. Awesome. So I've got a lot of detailed structure in here, and I've also got a lot of internal deadlines. So I'm expecting the team to get this piece of work done within the month. I'm expecting the team to have responded to the email and review any client queries by the end of the year. I'm expecting to have the team finalize the accounts by early next year, and we have to make sure we have them lodged by whatever date I've put in there as my hard deadline. So that's how Pixie can really help you structure your work and making sure that you're not missing any deadlines internally, or you come to the end and you think, oh my gosh, I've completely forgotten about this job. whereas I would have got multiple reminders throughout that job, just so I'm not letting it slip away from me. Within your Pixie trial, you'll get about 10 pre-prepared templates: bookkeeping, VAT, payroll, annual accounts, tax returns, confirmation statements, the like. You can utilize those and they set up and look exactly like we're looking at here. So you get a lot of structure, you get a lot of help, and out of the box is actually quite useful because you can always adjust one that we've built for you, or if you like the look and feel, just take it away and start. We've got the ability to label jobs. So maybe you want to communicate with the team, but you don't want to send them emails and say, here's where I'm up to on this job. You can do one of two things. Maybe this is a work in progress. We're also maybe waiting on the client for further documents here. And I can leave a note here for the team. So I might say, Pete and I might be working on this job. Pete is, he's sent the email and Matt is completing work now, something like that. You can always communicate with the team via the notes section, because within any job, that's where everything's housed. And of course, within a subtask, you always have the ability to add anything you like in here. Maybe it's a communication between yourself and your colleagues. Maybe you want to make that really obvious so they can see where you're up to in the job. And again, if I'm looking through a list of work and I'm the boss, or if I'm looking at my own list of work, my eyes immediately drawn to the different labels that I have on this job, which I can filter for. So if I've got a long list of 20 or 30 jobs, straight away I can see this one here, I'm waiting on the client to respond. So maybe I'm going to step it up and give them a call. Whatever I need to, I can build out that structure. And to create these labels here, all you have to do is click into settings, task labels, and I've created a nice set structure for all the labels that I have in the business. Not only within Pixie can you send secure links to clients or password protect documents or whatever you need to do, but your communication with the client is always logged and linked into the client record. So here's the exchange we just had with this client. It's going to mirror our 365 or Gmail inbox. And I can click straight through to the client record and find everything I need. I can find who the contacts are, what type of work I'm doing for that client, what is their year end, all the key information that I want. Pixie's customizable and flexible to allow you to add in those fields. Now, here's an example. What if we got an email from a client that was in advance, maybe sending us information that we don't need to complete until December? Sometimes it happens, clients give you information early. You'll receive an email that looks like this. You'll have a big red button here that says create task from email. So I can actually create work, much like I did for the bookkeeping or annual accounts, related to what the client has sent me. So it's really good for, again, just keeping that structure going. You can then reassign that work to the colleague in question and maybe even set a deadline for it then and there. But that's how easy it is to get the work going and making sure you're not missing anything, or maybe even scheduling it to start in 6 months' time when it's ready. You can then complete that work or the email to kind of clear out your inbox. And again, you might have noticed that there are two inboxes. One is priority. So the priority is any email that Pixie associates with a client in your records. You might have a list of 10 or 1,000 clients. Any email in Pixie goes into the priority inbox. This other is not so related to work. So it's personal stuff, maybe as you can see, Google security or anything else. But let me show you how we get these emails to detect within our priority tab. Here's my client list. I might be moving from an existing software. I might have a lot of client information in a spreadsheet. I can import that spreadsheet straight into Pixie by using the Pixie import function, which is the 3 dots on the right-hand side, importing data. So that's a really easy way of getting information into Pixie. We can also add directly from Company's House. So if I give that an example, maybe my search Monroe Partners, it'll give me the top 10 options. I might need to narrow that search down. I think is it Monroe Partners there, David?
Monroe and, yeah.
Monroe and, oh, there you go. Third option. So when you want to add clients directly from Company's House, you can do that. So you can pull in the company registration number, the directors' names, the address, the key dates, such as year-end, confirmation statement dates, anything that you need to do. So I'm going to use David as an example here. I don't have this set up to Company's House. It's a different demo account. All I have to do is when I come into Pixie, go to your settings, click into integrations, and just make sure you've got Company's House synchronized and activated here, which I haven't done in this account yet. It says activated, but I haven't linked it up. That's fine. That's just step number 1, allowing you to then add clients from Company's House. And again, you can just add clients manually too. So if you get a brand new prospect, you can add them. And as we can see here, I've got multiple client types. I've got new clients, maybe prospects, limited companies, sole traders, whatever it might be. And not only that, I've actually narrowed down the work I do for these clients so I can start them in one hit. And an example of that might be, I'm going to filter for all of my bookkeeping clients. I've got 4 of them. So of these 4 clients, I can select them all and I can create a once-off piece of work. Maybe we need to rush something by the end of the week and I'm going to create it here and now. Or I can schedule recurring work based off a template. Maybe I've got weekly work, monthly work, annual work, quarterly work, doesn't matter. You can select a template that you've pre-prepared and that will then continue on based on the client information. I could also send 4 individual emails to these clients at once from Pixie. So that's really helpful too, especially when it comes time to maybe requesting documents, letting them know that the deadline's coming up, or simply checking in. Let me show you an example of a client that we've got some data for. So let's go. This one here that Pete and I were working on earlier. So Pete's the primary contact. That's why his name was getting pulled into the emails. I can make it so that every email that's sent to Pete, I can get CC'd in as well. So it just keeps me in the loop. Maybe if there are 2 directors, you can do that, for example. Maybe this is no longer a new client. Maybe this is a limited company. So we're going to update the status of this client, and it's that easy. We can also see that I do bookkeeping work for this client, VAT as well. We've got a year-end date. We've got a VAT end date. We've got payroll dates, all sorts of stuff. These are fields that we've created in our settings, which allow us to add as little or as much information to a client record as we need. For example, we might have passwords we hold on behalf of clients. What type of industry are our clients a part of? Where are they located in the world? All the key information we want, we can just create a setting field up here, settings, client fields. This is where we can add those key areas and it will populate across our entire client base.
Matt, I've got a very good question from Sue, and she asks, what if you receive an email, from example, a handover email from a previous accountant? Now, you're not necessarily going to have their email address or record on your file or within your account. So what does it do there?
Yeah, awesome question. Good question there, Sue. So you can do one of 2 things here. If you've got the email already from the client, because it's coming through to your regular email account, you'll be able to see it most likely sitting in this other tab. Might not be the case because, as you can see here, it isn't associated with the client. So we have to find the client to associate it with. But we haven't actually built the client yet. So maybe we're going to add the client as a prospect, or we're going to update it from company's house, or whatever we want to do. But as long as we have it in Pixie, we then associate the email to that client. And you'll see within about a minute, that email has moved from the other tab into your priority tab. But if you didn't have the time to maybe create the client and add the email in, as long as you have the client in your account, all you have to do is select the relevant email, search for the client. Maybe it's this client here, and I can link it manually to that client if I need to. But as long as that email's in there and you've updated it, Pixie will do that for you automatically. So you won't have to worry about linking them. As long as you've got the email associated to any client record. And that's the case if you've maybe added your emails early. So you've linked your email accounts, but you haven't imported your client list yet. You'll see a lot of emails sitting in the other until you've updated the client records in your Pixie account with the relevant emails. They'll then move across to the priority tab for you instantly. So you won't have to worry about doing any manual connections there. And you can then dive into the client record, for example, this one here. Have a look at any emails that we've sent, and there's the tracked history of any discussion I've had or my colleagues have had with this client, and I can see them all here. The files that Matt sent through as well, there are the 2 bank statements. They're always logged against his client record. Here are the recurring tasks that came through from that Zapier connection that Pete did before, and here are the open tasks that we've got. So they're, again, ready to go straight away. All right, perfect. Probably one of the neatest things about Pixie is the fact that it's very affordable. It's £49 a month or $59 if you're outside of the UK. And it doesn't have user limits or client limits. So you can have unlimited users. Maybe you're growing from a team of 2 to 10 by the end of the year. You won't pay anything more. And same with the clients. Doesn't matter how small or large your client base is. There's none of those additional hidden fees. You can add clients team members in respectively, and you can put the permission levels in if you need. So workspace admin, you get access to all of Pixie, and employee is more of a junior status, doesn't have the access to all the settings that you might have created, those templates, you might have set up the fields for the clients. They can only utilize those, they can't add to them, or they can't create their own. Now we're enhancing this feature, so it allows for you to maybe stop some employees from seeing all clients or emails or things like that. So we're getting into that really enhanced version as well. So you can really narrow down what you can and cannot see depending on your staff members. But if you are looking for maybe who's at capacity, who needs help, where are we up to with all of our work, I can click on any one of my staff members' names. For example, Emily here has got 7 open tasks. All of them are overdue way back in December. So I'm going to assist her with that. What I can do is maybe reassign some of those tasks to somebody else. I can even jump in and complete them for her if she's forgotten to do that, or maybe update the labels. Now, as you can see, Pixie's automatically put an overdue status on these because they've passed the deadline or the internal deadline that we've set. So we can have multiple internal deadlines and Pixie will hold us accountable to those. But again, if you're the boss looking in on this, you can assess straight away that maybe Emily needs some help. Or if I look at the work report, I get an overview of everything. I get a view of all of my clients' work across all of my staff members. And again, I can filter by what status is it, if it's overdue, if it's in progress, what type of work it is, who's responsible for that work, if it was closed, who it was closed by, when it was closed, what type of work it is, all sorts of stuff. So this is a really key report, and it's effectively like a really enhanced Excel spreadsheet in live time. So you don't need to worry about doing it outside of Pixie. You can just do it inside of Pixie. And again, a couple of key important areas, making sure you've got a business logo in there. So that's how you get your logo to pull through into any links that you send clients, making sure you've got your email set up, you've got your email signature in there so that when you do send an email, it's professional, it comes through with all of the information you expect to see. Task templates, we've got about 10 out of the box. You can always add from our workflow template library. So we've got an online library with some of the people in the industry, which you can then download and import into your account accordingly if necessary. And then integrations, of course, connecting Zapier. Make sure you connect your Zapier through Pixie. That will allow you to then take the next step. And we've got some other integrations too, like Zapier for AML. So if you're looking for an AML provider and have it all built in-house with Pixie, you can use that connection we have on the right-hand side there. Let me know. I'm happy to introduce you to Jacques from Zapier to really take that to the next step. Now, I've flown through Pixie. I mean, it's a very simple tool. You saw how easy it was to navigate. You can't really make mistakes. You can always go back to where you were. So if you're coming from a system that's very complicated, this can be very easy to maybe transition across to. And if you have any questions for me about this or throughout your trial, which you can get a 30-day free trial, I'll put the link in a second into the chat within Zoom. You can always talk to me. So you can always say, Matt, I've got a specific question here. If you can't find it in our documentation, I'll be happy to answer that question for you in live time. So let me just copy and paste this. And I'm going to put that here in the chat. So that's a Pixie trial. There's the link there. And I'm going to follow everybody up with a poll in just a moment to make sure that we've covered everything. But Pete, any questions that have come through whilst I've been talking now, or all good?
Sue just said, and I'm just typing an answer, so I might as well just say it, that Sue's would be very interested in knowing more about Zapier and both Practice Ignition and Pixie work with Zapier, and either Matt or myself will follow up with details of how you can get in touch with them and book in a demo and find out more.
Perfect. And I can see there's a question come through there from Grant. Is there a screen for employee task capacity? That would be the work report there, or looking simply in the team tab to check who's overworked or who's got overdue tasks. Now, some of you might be using timesheets. I failed to mention that Pixie integrates with Clockify, which is a free Chrome extension. So you can actually track time against any job or any piece of work or client related feature that you're doing. So that's, if you're interested in that, just please put it in the chat or something like that. I'm happy to follow you up with that in a personal message if necessary. All right, we've wrapped up Practice Ignition. We've talked to David. We've seen what Pixie can do. But in summary, we've effectively got these tools in our app stack to save us time, increasing efficiency. So as you saw before, David's got a nice suite of apps and he's really flowing and he's able to work from different regions. So he might have his staff members all over the place. It doesn't matter. As long as they have access to these tools, they're able to do what they need to do. Building a really slick proposal, which Pete showed how to adjust on the fly and build in real time. Capturing those payment details is so easy. Once the client puts them in, they're there and they're saved against that client record. So they come back in the next year, all they have to do is tick the right one and away they go. It really negates the whole having to leave the system, having to find your credit card, maybe then getting fed up and not wanting to do it. They can then go straight in and complete that work. Setting up clients automatically via Zapier and all the work off the back of those into Pixie as well. Super helpful. We showed how that Zap can work and then how the work can deploy immediately to the right colleagues for the right tasks. And then managing all of your work, client information, CRM information there in Pixie. Now you might have both information within Practice Ignition as well. With Zapier, you can tie those together to make sure if you ever do update something in Zapier, in Practice Ignition, it zaps accordingly into Pixie as well. So you have the same level playing field for both of your systems as well. All right, we've got two quick polls. Let me just produce them for you briefly. The first of which is, I think it's a Pixie poll. I'm going to launch this one. So what are your next steps? I've put a trial link there into the chat. Now, I know there's a lot of people already using Pixie. So if you're already a Pixie custom, please just let us know. If you're interested in that trial, click that link. But this is going to be the tailored response you'll receive from us following this, whether it's the recording, which you'll all get, or a trial link or something else. If you'd like a demo with me or someone else on the team, we can really tailor it to what you'd like to see. I know I went through a few areas of Pixie today, but we do offer a little bit more, and we can always dive a little bit deeper. And we can also compare to maybe what you're currently using or some of those other tools that are out there as well, and how Pixie can really, really help you. All right, thanks everybody for voting. I'm just going to wrap that one up there. We've also got a Practice Ignition poll, so I'll let Pete take this one away. Let me just expand on that one there. All yours, Pete.
Thank you very much. So yeah, this is with regards to Practice Ignition. Obviously, you've had a chance to see exactly what you can achieve out of Practice Ignition. So, you know, now that you have seen everything, just want to know what your next steps are, if at all. You know, would you like to take advantage of the offer? So what I'll do is ask Matt to flip through to the offer slide that we have. So I'll just run down the other answers while I'm, and then I'll talk about the offer. Would you like a demo? Would you like to start a free trial? Are you okay for now, or are you already a Practice Ignition user? So I've actually pasted as well the Practice Ignition website into the chat, but it's practiceignition.com. And if you head over to the website, then you can sign up for either a demo, one-to-one demo, or you can sort of sign up for a free trial. But we are actually running a promotion for any Pixie users that are looking to sign up with Practice Ignition over the rest of this month. So there's only a week to go for this month, but also during the month of August, where if you sign up, you will receive 30% off your starter subscription or your professional plan subscription for the next 12 months. I think this is probably the best offer that we've actually got at the moment. And it's really because you can achieve so much having those two packages working together. You can get so much more time back to actually spend servicing your clients. So again, if you want to reach out and you didn't answer in the poll, then maybe you can just jump onto the website, book in an overview, or you can get in touch with me, peter.marlow@practiceignition.com.
Beautiful, thanks there, mate. What I'm going to do is just flick back up to the beginning. There we go. So there's our email and information at the bottom. So mine and Pete's email, if you need to contact us, please do. You'll also receive information and recording of this via email from us. So that's another way of getting back in touch if you need to. All right, we've got a good question here from Raphael. Absolutely. So how would you be able to claim the promotion in August? Most likely the best way would go through Pete there via email. So once we receive, or once we send this recording out, along with all the detail we've talked about, maybe some of those trial links or whoever was responding to the polls, you'll be able to then follow up the respective person, myself or Pete, to claim those promotions. Beautiful. Thanks for that, Pete. David, have you got anything else to add, or are you feeling good, ready to get on with the day?
I think no, it's just really, if you're thinking about it, I'd suggest you just go for it. Do a trial with Pixie, do a trial with PI. I don't think you'll be disappointed. They work really well. Makes a big difference to your practice.
Amazing. Thanks for your time there, David. Thanks, Pete. Have you got anything else to add, or are you ready to go?
I'd just like to say I noticed you didn't have a planned happy accident on your overview, Matt, like we agreed. It was faultless to a T. But no, thank you very much for setting up and working on the this webinar. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure taking you through everything.
No worries at all, but you'll have to blame Jordan for that. He is the slide guru, so he's the one who makes these look fantastic. So that'll be, thanks, Jordan. Appreciate that. He's one of our founders, and he's all over this sort of marketing and education stuff. Thanks again, Pete. Thanks again, David. Appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody, for attending. Keep an eye out for that email in the next hour. Have a great day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.